Good morning, Logan. My name is Leilani, and I'm representing West Coast Machinery.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm here today to talk to you about a new type of suspension we are offering for the tractors that you manufacture here. So I take it that you've heard about the recent increase in profits in the grain markets. And economic studies have shown that there's a correlation between an increase in profits in a particular agricultural production market and an increase in sales in farm equipment. Which makes sense because with this influx of cash, farmers are more inclined to go and use this to apply back into their business by buying new tractors and other equipment. So with that in mind, now is the perfect time to improve your tractors and make them as marketable as possible for these buyers. So what are some of the qualities you typically look for in parts that you buy from outside vendors, such as the suspensions?
I usually have been looking at what my competition is purchasing and simply following along, assuming that they are making the economically wise decisions.
And how do you choose which vendors will supply your company with these materials?
I choose to purchase parts such as the suspension from Phoenix Equipment because they offer the leading chrome moly suspension in the industry.
And what made you choose a chrome moly suspension?
Well, it is just common in the industry, and I was concerned about deviating from the standards without thorough knowledge of the alternatives.
And aren't there any problems that you have faced with the chrome moly suspension?
Definitely. I'd definitely say that the cost has been a big problem for me.
So just to clarify, you're saying that the high cost of the chrome moly steel has had a significant impact on your production costs?
Yes, I definitely say it has had a problem. It has had some sort of a big impact on me.
Yeah, and so if I could offer an alternative part that can reduce your production costs without sacrificing any of the quality or the effectiveness of the suspension, would you agree to switch over to the one that I'm offering?
Sure, I'd be willing to.
Alright, so first let's compare the two material types, the chrome moly and the low carbon steel. And what you can see from this graph here, this baseline is 30 KSI, which is the amount of force that is typically exposed out in the field that the suspension will have to endure in order to last and provide the utility that it needs to. So both of these material types, the chromium and the low carbon steel, are stronger because they have higher yield points, meaning that they're able to withstand this force and still maintain their effectiveness. So has this convinced you that both material types are strong and effective?
Yes, I'd definitely say so.
Okay, and as you're probably aware, the suspension that you're using right now is also a single arm suspension, whereas the one that I'm using is, providing for you is a double arm or wishbone suspension. Now, the main difference between the two is that the single arm suspension puts the shocks and the shock body, the suspension body, in bending, which can cause fatigue and even failures over time, whereas the double arm suspension distributes this stress more evenly and therefore is able to withstand more of it because it is able to spread it throughout the part.
Okay.
And as you can see from these two 3D models, this is the single arm suspension and this is the double arm suspension. And what this is basically showing us is that there are less points in which there are concentrated amount of stress applied in the double arm suspension. There's far less of those compared to the single arm suspension, in which case there are a lot of those weak points that could eventually fail and break over time.
Okay.
So these results are quite compelling, aren't they?
Yes, they definitely, with the graphs you've shown me, they're definitely quite compelling, as I really didn't have much knowledge on those before.
Yeah. And has this persuaded you to switch over to a double arm suspension for future use?
While it is quite tempting, the problem is just that I don't know any other major agricultural equipment manufacturers that use double arm suspensions in their tractors. And because of that, I don't really know what to expect or whether or not it may be too risky to be the only company that has switched over to the double arm suspension.
Well, I understand your logic, and many equipment manufacturers that I've spoken with have also followed a similar path of reasoning. But I'd like to point out some additional test results that may convince you. So both suspension types went under a finite element analysis, and this basically looks at the amount of weak points in which the suspension could be susceptible to damage and even failures. And this is important because failures could cause breaking and other malfunctions in similar parts surrounding the suspension, and this could ultimately put the operator at risk for injury. So, when looking at the finite element analysis conducted on both of them, it had shown that the double arm suspension proved to be longer lasting, more durable, and less likely to cause failures that could lead to injuries. So, do these results seem to make sense and appear logical to you?
Yes, they definitely seem clear to me, and they provide a much better idea of why switching over to double arms might be the more logical choice than going with a single arm suspension.
Yes. So comparing the two overall in terms of testing results, performance, and durability, would you consider switching over to the double arm suspension for use in your future tractor designs?
Yes, I definitely think that would be a good decision for me to make. I feel like doing so would help my business and my tractors become better overall.
Alright, well, I'll be back on Tuesday to discuss the details with you, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. It was great doing business with you.
Thank you.